Alright folks, the reason I'm making this little video here on the side channel is because it is something reflecting as a way. What happened was, for those who did not follow my Facebook or don't have me on Facebook, I mentioned on this past April 1st, no fooling, that this past April Fool's Day, April 1st, was the 8-year anniversary of when I had the surgery on my chest. And I thought I would explain the medical condition I had and the surgery and all that stuff for this video. And the display that you see over here on the side of the image you see here on the side of the video, I'm going to use as a visual display, just in case you guys don't really know what's going on. Let me quickly check something a second, because I want to make sure I got everything right. There we go. I had to make sure I had the cursor here. So, what happened was, April 1st, 2008, I went in for surgery because I had a chest condition known as Pectus Excavatum. I believe that's Latin, which pretty much means indented chest. And what that means is this entire center area here of your rib cage caves in. And the level of severity depends on the indent. You either have an indent where it's not so bad that you need surgery, where it's actually optional, or where it's so severe where you have to have surgery in order to prevent it from damaging your internal organs. With my case, like, it wasn't noticeable that my chest there, indent area, was noticeable until about 7th grade. I was probably 12 or 13, I was one of the two ages, and we had a field day, which is pretty much like every homeroom doing these like sports competitions against each other. Like you would do swimming, tug of war, basket, like some other sports and all that stuff. I can't remember most of them. But one of them was swimming, and I had to take part in it. When everybody saw me without my shirt on and they saw the indent right there in the middle of the rib cage, everybody just came up to me and started poking my chest. They're like, whoa, like embarrassing me in front of the whole fucking school. And that's where one of the other bullying factors also came in my life. Something else that people would freaking bully me about it was my chest indent. So you can only imagine how much fun that wasn't. So, 8 years ago from this past April 1st, so I was in 10th grade at that point, finally went in for the surgery. And I remember that day well because on Fox News, even though they're a shit network now, they were talking about the WrestleMania 24 pyro accident from a couple days prior, WrestleMania 24 after the main event, all that stuff. And I remember the first thing they did was they had me laying on one of the beds. They put the IV into my hand. But the numbing cream they put on there moments before did not work. So I felt that thing go right into my vein. I was like, ah. The lady's holding me. She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know." It's like it's severely painful to get a needle stuck into getting pushed into your vein. Like that's severe pain, no matter how small or thin that needle may be. So they put that in my hand that day, and they pumped some liquid stuff in there to knock me out. So then after a little bit, they're pushing me on the bed. They got me wrapped up and stuff. By the time they get me through the first set or second set of double doors, before I knew it, I was just out like a light. I freaking wake up. I'm laying there on my back, and I was like, "Oh, is my chest fixed?" Doctor lifted up the gown thing and showed me that my chest was pretty much, yeah, trying to figure out where the cursor is. My chest was finally fixed. What they did in the procedure is called the Nuss procedure, where they make 2 incisions, one on the left side and one on the right side of your ribcage. Like mine are right about here-ish, right where my hands are. Like I still got the scars to this day. What they do is they make those 2 incisions. Then when they have the surgery, they know at that point whether they have to insert 1 or 2 thin steel bars into your ribcage. And before that, they'll like to test your allergies. Like there are people who are allergic to nickel. So what they do is before the surgery, like for a few days before the surgery, they'll have you keep a little piece of nickel kind of taped onto your skin to keep it there for like a day to see your reaction. And if you're not allergic to it, then you'll get the bars that'll be in your chest will be steel and nickel. Otherwise, if you have an allergic reaction to nickel, it'll be steel and titanium. Luckily, I did not have an allergic reaction, so it was steel and nickel. And like I said, they don't know until they do the procedure whether you need 1 or 2 steel bars in your chest to fix the problem. And unfortunately for me, it was 2. So what they do is they make the incisions on the side of the rib cage, then they slide the bars under there, and then use them to pop out your sternum. And I think there's some things with flipping the bars around, kind of making sure that they stay there. And then they clamp them in on the sides of the other sides of the rib cage to make sure they stay there. And the amount of time varies. For me, that lasted almost 3 years in my chest. So because of that, I had the bars still staying in there up until 2011. The hospital stay varies as well, depending on your pain tolerance and threshold and your recovery time. I was in there on a Tuesday, and it took me till the following Sunday to finally get out. At that point, I was just like severely in pain and feeling sick the whole time because there was pain in the rib cage completely, because that's surgery, popping out your rib cage. I was just completely ill the whole time, in pain, suffering. I did not want to get up or move or eat or anything because it was that nauseating. But then after a while, I finally got back to trying to do normal activities. The worst part about the bar, there were two bad things about the bars. One, if I turn my body, the ends of the bars would stick out on my left side. So like poke, poke. And people could see it if I lifted my shirt on the side, they could see the bars stick out to my skin. Not good. And that's severely painful. And I think there were other cases where if I'm in a hot area, like a hot car in the middle of summer, and I had the bars, the heat would severely tense up, and I could feel like severe tightening on my chest right around the bars. Not good. And the other thing was, for me, like, people know I've got a bad back. And people in school like to do the whole thing where you sit in the chair, turn and like kind of hold on the chair and kind of twist your back. I cannot do that because, once again, bars would stick out of the side, so I cannot crack my back despite having a bad back issue. So because of that, it brought on a lot of pain for a while. Like, it hurt to sneeze and cough because of the bars being put in there. So fast forward a little bit to 2011. I think it was January or February. I think it was February. I don't remember the exact date of when the bars got out, but 2011, finally talked to the doctor, and he said, well, it's time to finally get your bars out. I'm like, finally, thank you. So the procedure to get them out is simple. They reopen the incisions, and then they just completely take off the clamps and then carefully take the bars out and sew it back up. Outgoing procedure. And of course, I got to keep the bars. I know I got them somewhere. Let me quickly check a second. I know I got them somewhere here in this room. Shoot. I know I got them somewhere in here, but it doesn't look like I have them on hand. But they're really thin bars. Like, they felt a lot thicker when they were in my chest. Like, I opened them up, I'm like, whoa. Like, they got them all clean and everything. There was no blood. There was no rust. And it took me a while of that day to finally get out of the hospital, because I think I was in around surgery by around 11, 12 o'clock. It took me till about 5 or 6 o'clock at night to finally get out of the hospital, because unfortunately I had a bad reaction to the anesthesia where it brought on a lot of nausea. Like, to the point where they were just pumping a lot of stuff into my IV, trying to relieve me my nausea. Like, when I woke up after the surgery, I remember, like, it was before they even brought me to my room. They pushed me through, and it was either due to the nausea or like some kind of motion sickness. I was just like shaking and kind of dry heaving because the nausea was really kicking my ass. Like, holy shit. But then by 5 or 6 o'clock, I was up and walking again. The nausea was finally gone, and things were back to normal. So I thought I would give you guys that bit of an informational video to reflect on this day, because the medical condition is just really serious, and like, it can be traumatizing at the same time, especially if you're somebody who has a condition and you're getting teased about it. If you have the condition, it's a pretty big thing to go through. Depending on your severity of the chest indent, surgery may not be required. But if you think that you want to finally get your chest regulated, if you have it indented like I had, I would say give the operation a chance. If it's a severe case, then you'll have to go through it, because one of the downsides of having the chest indent is it'll compress on the center of your chest area, so it'll compress how much room you got inside for your internal organs. So if you try to take a full breath while having an indented chest, you're not going to be able to take a full breath compared to somebody who has a normal sized chest, because indent is going to affect the amount of space you have for your lungs. So if you want to be able to take a full breath of air again, and like if you're doing any sports activities or gym and stuff like that, I would suggest getting it fixed. And if you know somebody who has the condition, don't mock them for it. It's a really traumatizing thing to be picked on about. But I hope that informed you guys on something in case you wanted to learn something new. But anyway, folks, let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought about this today. It's crazy looking back on this after all these years. I'm just glad I had the procedure done and got my chest fixed, because I was tired of that indent and being teased about it. But anyway, folks, hope you guys learned something new and got informed by this. Thanks for watching, folks. Like, comment, subscribe. Have a good day, folks. Or good evening, whatever.